Hi, everybody. Welcome back to eXp's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion podcast, CultureCast with Cody. I'm Cody Gilkison, your Senior Manager of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And today we are talking with Eve Hill, who is a co-chair of the eXp Seniors Network. And this is in honor of Seniors Day. We're going to tackle an issue that has lived in society since the dawn of society. We're talking about ageism. So if you haven't joined us on CultureCast before, this is the bi-weekly podcast about what makes us us. And Eve, we're thrilled to have you here. You want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Eve Hill, and thank you, Cody, so much for having me about this topic on ageism. I became a certified aging in place specialist a couple of years ago, coming out of the pandemic, looking for something really meaningful to do. And my friend and business partner, Heather Brooks, who is a realtor, we got involved in this together, and we've been educating and making videos and advocating for older adults and the possibilities ahead for a couple of years now. And at the beginning of this year, I did become a realtor too. So we could help older adults either age in place where they are or move into a place that suits them better. Before that, I started my career in TV production. I was a writer on a couple of sitcoms in the 90s, like Blossom. And then I worked in education and nonprofits, and I worked for raising money for Holocaust survivors in Eastern Europe. So I have a real sensitivity and a feeling of wanting to help, and also put my creative juices towards making something happen for older adults in our society.
We're so glad we've got you. You're one of the powerhouses behind it. The Seniors Network has been absolutely, if you haven't been following, has been absolutely killing it. They're out here with great content. We are in the midst of Seniors Month right now, where we have a new event every Thursday. And those events are all going to live on the DEI at eXp YouTube page. You can go and check those out, or just go check out the Seniors Network on Workplace with the link below. So let's dig right into it. For those wanting to just dive into the topic, what is ageism and what's the impact? That's a big, broad question, but what can you tell us?
Well, I'll tell you, ageism, very simply, is any assumption you make about someone based solely on their age. It's discrimination based on a prejudice about age. And the really interesting thing about ageism is that we don't even realize we're doing it because it's so baked in to our society. We know we're a youth-oriented culture. We know all that stuff. So ageism sort of comes and we don't even see it. Like, have you ever said, "Oh, you know what? I'm too old for that," or "Hey, you look great for your age," or "I'm having a senior moment." But the thing is, when you lost your keys when you were in your 20s, did you say you were having a junior moment? So these things are not just about our age. Everybody forgets things now and then. And older adults get asked all the time things like, "Well, oh, are you still working? Oh, are you still blogging? Are you still running?" The thing is, what they found out through study after study, is that age is no longer a reliable predictor of just about anything. I mean, you may have physical changes, of course. You may lose hearing or mobility, but things like ambition and personality and values don't change. So what I would ask people to think of first, when I think of ageism, what do you think of when you think of the word old? So, you may think of wisdom, but chances are when you think of the word old, you're not thinking of vitality and energy and future thinking. But we should, because older adults are just as excited, could be just as excited about the future if our society would open up the vocabulary and the representation to allow them to see that it's possible. So that's what I would say ageism is.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love all of that. I mean, and that's such a mind-opening exercise to just, hit it right at you. What is the first thing that pops in your head when you think of the word old? And all of those things that popped in, that initial little blurb of thought, that blast of light and sound in your brain, is all kind of negative things, right?
I mean, I have to admit, I still think of someone old and hunched over and wrinkled and, walking gingerly.
Yeah.
And that's because that's the dominating thing that we see. Sometimes we see Martha Stewart on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Sometimes we see Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
But mostly we're seeing old people that are sort of relegated to being away from us and being closed off and being in a recliner, or, just wanting to be in sort of some endless little vacation of, sipping Mai Tais and walking on the beach and,
Yeah.
But I think that doesn't help with ageism. I think bringing people together, multi-generations helps. I think that there's the impact of, I mean, it's like segregation of any kind. I mean, you're limiting your choices and your possibilities. And I think that, like, okay, so the impact of ageism narrows your thinking. So personally, you narrow your thinking, and you maybe like say things, you blame things on age when they're not just age. You may have an ache or a pain. You think, oh, I'm just getting old. But if you went to the doctor and checked it out, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something fixable, but you don't fix it. You just let it get worse and worse, and that maybe affects your personal health. Another impact of ageism would be in the work life, in your business. If there are some companies that, of course, shoo you away at a certain age, a mandatory retirement age, or there's other places that won't hire you or won't consider you, or there are other people that you work with who don't want to work with you because they figure you're old and you won't be adaptable, or you won't be creative enough, or you won't be productive enough. So you have opportunities are closed off to you. So you may not get the job, you may not keep the job. So that affects you economically.
Yeah, and I particularly think about like with our eXp staff, we're in the tech industry, right? So I think, those of us that are hiring managers have to keep a very open mind to our own ageism, right? And be cognizant of the fact that an older applicant isn't immediately disqualified because they're older. You don't know if they speak 12 coding languages, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
That would be ageism, right? Yeah, that would be
right.
an assumption based on age.
Right.
And the last statistic that I read, unfortunately, was that only 4% of corporations have age in their DEI dictionary and have a long-term strategy for retaining and for hiring and retaining older adults and helping them to work intergenerationally.
Wow.
Even though there's all these studies that say that if you have multiple generations together, then everybody benefits from more points of view.
That's really interesting. I'm looking back at my career in DEI and in resource groups and that kind of thing. I don't think that I had recognized the fact that eXp is the first place I worked at that has a seniors resource group. That actually is interesting. That's actually really interesting.
Well, it's relatively new. I mean, I have a close friend who's a DEI expert, and she said, "Yeah, we're bringing age in." She got her degree in DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and she says that's really becoming a thing, but it's not the first thing that people think about. And so we talked about personally, we talked about professionally, and publicly, societally, public policy. So if we're an ageist society and we elect ageist leaders, it's not our fault. We all are. So we make these assumptions about what older people want or don't want, or what we think their lives should be. And so we put money towards the things we think they want, and resources towards, but that also could be limiting. We could be creating bad policies or not providing the correct resources that will really help older adults give more to society and get more.
Right. Yeah. It does make sense. And we do have this sort of feeling today that exists in the zeitgeist in the younger generation of older people existing to sort of leech off of the economy, right? Through Social Security. And that's really harmful. And that sort of thought is a very clear indicator of ageism, right? I also think about the way that I think about age in myself is something that helps me sort of review my feelings about ageism, right? I look in the mirror and I see differences in my face shape. I see differences in my body type. I feel different aches and pains and creaks. And every time the first thought is, God, I hate getting old, which is a precursor to ageism, right?
Well, but like I said, it's not our fault because we haven't seen those elders revered. We've seen them as like, oh yeah, like oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to take care of grandma, instead of being raised in a society like many cultures that are now living in America, and that's a lot of what's helping us. Is that's just a given. It's like, of course, they're a member of the family.
Yes, exactly. And we also have to recognize that in today's world with medical advances, people are living longer than ever, and not only living longer than ever, but living and being active longer than ever, right?
Yes. So respect that the possibilities are there. Don't just assume. Don't make those kinds of assumptions.
Yeah.
So I think we're going into another thing about assumptions, and the damage that they can do. And I've talked about that too. I mean, what kind of assumptions we make. A lot of these things are obvious, the things that we say, and a lot of them are kind of hidden. And when we talk about assumptions, those are things that we say or think without thinking. Those are the hidden things. And it's kind of what's been called a cognitive hole. There's a lack of information about what we're doing to ourselves. So we don't really have the language to challenge it and break free of it. Even the compliments that we give people when they're old are compliments that compliment them because they seem young. Like, oh, they're young at heart, or they're so spry and feisty.
Right. Yeah. There's a word we only, yeah.
It's like you're an exception to old instead of celebrating old, because look at you. So how to challenge those assumptions is to do what we're doing, talk about it and be aware of it. And when you notice it, to kind of, like when someone says, wow, you look great for your age, instead of saying, well, just say, well, that's interesting. Act like, no, don't judge them. Ask like a scientist, not a judge. You want to discover why do we say things like that? Why do you ask me that question? And don't, if you say, oh, are you still playing hockey? Well, why do you ask me that? Where does that come from? What assumptions do you have? Because they're, like you said, if we're living, we keep living an average of 30 years longer. It's called our longevity dividend of, for modern technology and modern science. What was I saying? So we're not trying to blame them. We're trying to reframe how we're thinking about aging.
Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're talking about having a positive view about aging. What are some of the key benefits that we can reap for ourselves by having a positive view of aging?
Well, speaking of longevity, it has an incredible impact having a consistent positive view about aging. There's a woman named Dr. Rebecca Levy from Yale, and she did a study which showed that we get 7.5 extra years of life for having a positive view about aging. She found that age beliefs had a greater impact on longevity than high cholesterol, high blood pressure, obesity, or even smoking. So you can improve your balance, you can improve your memory, you can improve your will to live if you have a positive view about what's coming up. So if we can bring in those kinds of positive ideas and enlighten ourselves and others and older adults, then we'll have a future that we want to look forward to, and we'll have this positive view. We'll actually live to see that better future if we believe it's going to be there. So that's why at eXp Seniors Network, we're really trying to bring all these messages to realtors and other professionals that are dealing with older adults, because a lot of older adults are faced with decisions in their homes. They don't know, they feel like they have to move out of their homes, and they think about, oh, that's assisted living, or I'm just going to be left, relegated somewhere. But if we know as realtors what's possible for them and what's available, and so many different ways of senior living that are out there. There's eco living, intentional living, there's co-housing, there's multi-generational living. There's even something, no matter where they move to, there's something called the Village Network, which is a whole bunch of volunteers and low-cost professionals. It's a membership organization for older adults who want to age in place. And there'll be volunteers who will come over to you and do your grocery shopping, or help you with technology, or take you out for an ice cream. So when you think like an older adult, oh, I'm just going to be left alone. Well, there's a lot of people that are not going to let you be left alone if you know that they're out there. So when we educate the realtors and they're helping an older adult choose their next home, they can assess the whole community and create a wider picture of what's available, and make a broader number of homes available for the buyer, and a broader appeal for moving to the next home.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that. And, for me, working in DEI, something that I love is when we can bring a level of staff inclusivity to our groups too. And to me, this is so staff inclusive. I think that people in our staff don't realize the level of content that is being offered by the Seniors Network that can help you and the seniors that you love in your family, or help you figure this out for yourself later in life, right? That these are the options available to you. So not everything is left to chance or some nightmare scenario you have to figure out on your own. We have the experts here that can help you navigate this. And I think that's a really powerful tool that eXp is offering also to staff. So yeah, I would encourage folks, Seniors Network is here for everybody.
Yeah, the thing about the Seniors Network also, and it's not just the Seniors Network, it's other people that deal with older adults and real estate and a lot of other things. And it's I don't think it's ageist to say that it takes some patience, and it's kind of a long-term thing. And if an older adult might have lived in their home for 30 or 40 or 50 years and might not see any value in moving, and maybe it's not for them. So our approach is really is to serve the person and to say, look, here's what you have and here's what the community around you, but here's what you could have in the next community. And if we know the kind of things that they will need, and there's 5 pillars of aging in place, which doesn't mean the home that you're in now, it's just in your home of choice. Whatever your home of choice is, you want to age in place. And the National Aging in Place Council has 5 pillars of aging. If I can remember them, it's housing, health and wellness, financial, transportation, and social connection. So when you're helping a senior decide where they're going to live, you're going to look at all those factors, not just the house. And so, yeah, like you're saying, that's going to be valuable for realtors, and it's going to be valuable for anybody serving seniors. And we all have seniors in our lives too. And we're all going to be seniors if we're lucky enough. So these are the things we need to consider and plan for. And it kind of helps make life feel richer, I think, to understand that we're going to have all these components working for us and supporting us.
Yeah. It makes me think of a couple women in my life and my family who didn't have ideal living circumstances in the years leading up to their passing, and how having these tools in my belt could have changed that situation a little bit. If I just could have brought that knowledge to the conversation, it's information I wish I'd had before, right? I wish I'd known more about this.
Well, it's a series of conversations too, and that's why we keep talking about it, and we keep saying just plan and have a conversation here or there, because even if you had mentioned this to your family members, they might have been resistant because of the way we've been brought up. It's like, oh, I don't need any help, I'm fine. And so you kind of have them conversations over and over again.
Yeah, we definitely were in some situations where I'm talking about my grandmother and my great-great-grandmother. Both of them said for years before they left shuffled off this mortal coil, as you'd say, that they weren't happy in their living situation. But we just thought, what's the other option, right?
Right. What's the
one
other
passed in a nursing home and one passed living with my father, and both of them hated it, right?
What did they hate about it? What was it? Uncomfortable? Or?
I think the aspect they were missing was the social aspect, right?
Yeah.
And when my great grandmother died, she died in a nursing home 25 years ago. And since then, that nursing home has been shut down because of elder abuse stuff that nobody was listening to her about, because she had dementia, right?
Yeah.
So
That's the fear. That's the fear that we're going to be sent off to some place like that. And that's why we need, obviously we need to be diligent when we're looking for places to live, but there's so much more coming in.
Yeah.
That is going to cater to people that are going to demand, they're going to demand that kind of custom treatment,
Yeah. And, I just want to briefly talking about ageism, something that has really enlightened me in my life, something that may have been one of those original embers that sparked in me my passion for DEI, is the fact that throughout my life, I've had older women, much older women in my life who have guided me and taught me a sense of history and a sense of purpose, and have given me like sort of my mission and believed in me, right? Today, one of my best friends is 85 years old, and there's nobody I trust her opinion, nobody's opinion I trust more, right? Because she's been there and she's seen it and she's done it. And that is valuable. It just is. And there's nothing unusual about having a friend or maintaining a close relationship, a close confidant relationship with someone that's much older or much younger than you. It's just a number. It's just a headspace. And it really can help you tackle your own ageism.
So that's where it's important that you come in contact with those people.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a few friends. I'm getting more now, of course, but I was not put in touch with a bunch of people that were older than me. I was in my school environment, my work environment, and you grow to think that they're an other, they're removed, but they're not. Yeah,
they're not. Very interesting.
So that kind of leads me into talking about ways to maybe get older adults and younger people together. And I think in personal spaces that's improving because for several reasons, there's a rise in multi-generational households just organically because of COVID, because of culture, because of necessity, financial considerations. So there's a figure that has us up at almost 25% of housing in the US is inhabited by multi-generational households. So that's going to definitely help younger people and older people understand each other. But in terms of public spaces, there are ADA compliance situations, which means most people with mobility issues can go forth in the public, and I think that helps. But there's more that needs to be done because there are some barriers in public spaces that really unnecessarily disable older adults. So there are lots of programs that are trying to change that in public spaces. In San Antonio, I'll just mention, for example, there's an organization called SALSA, which is called Successfully Aging and Living in San Antonio. And it's a whole bunch of community organizations getting together to be a coalition and to go forth to create public policy. And they're trying to create public policy that in any new builds, they have to be accessible, which is beyond ADA. They're going to have wider doorways. They're actually going to have to take a lot of other things in consideration, a lot of different senses. So those are some things that I think would help generations get together. Like I said, we've kind of weirdly segregated ourselves in classes. What if we took art classes and cooking classes and writing workshops together instead of segregating them? In our Parks and Rec, it's all like youth and adult. I think that would make things kind of magically creative and improve. There's an organization in my area called One Generation, and they do that. They have adult daycare, so it's adults who need, they may have dementia or other issues, and they have it matched with child daycare, and so they're all there together, and they're supervised, and it's a fantastic organization. So there's lots of things like that I think will help people get together, and I think to look for those things and embrace those things is going to do wonders.
Yeah. And something that I love, that I've always loved, is I know a handful of folks that are members of Seniors Network who attend every event with young professionals. And there's a handful of young professionals that attend every event for the Seniors Network.
Oh, that's great.
Right? And it's really a beautiful thing about learning from each other because regardless of age, we have different points of view, and new points of view are always valuable when we're coming at any.
If we come in open, if we come in saying this is a cool experience. Yeah. It's interesting. Right. I mean, I don't know if this is maybe off topic, but it's interesting to create all these different groups, separate and respect them all, and then say, let's come together. Now let's all come together. Now we're separated, we're respected. Now let's come back together.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite moments of synergy is between the Young Professionals Network and the Seniors Network. I love it. And maybe that's a topic for a future synergy session.
I think so. Sure. Yeah.
Could be really good. So let's talk about the adapting world, right? So what are some ways that seniors have adapted to the changing world, and what can we learn from the resilience and adaptability that they've shown?
Well, the fact that they stuck around is fantastic. That means that they're adaptable, right? I mean, when my mother was a child, they had the Iceman come to the house to put ice in the freezer. They had the milkman with his horse come to the door. They had Franklin Roosevelt as president. And now does all her online banking. She does Instacart. She has a Nest thermostat, a Ring doorbell. So I think that her adaptability as allowed. I mean, that's how she's staying connected, is she's adapting. And I think also a big thing, to be realistic, is that they have to cope with loss. They have to show resiliency by moving forward through all these losses. And we don't fully understand them as kids, but by the time you get to, I mean, maybe I'm being ageist in saying that. I think some kids might understand it, but their ability to cope and to find meaning in these experiences, I mean, we can respect them and see resilience and know that, we'll get through it too. And we may have to face it. I mean, the thing is, aging, to be realistic, is hard, so, but there's something called the U-shaped happiness curve, which I will bring up. It's a study by someone named Laura Carstensen from the Stanford Center on Longevity. And she found, among other people, that we have a U-shaped happiness curve in our life. We're born super happy as babies. No, nothing can help us but laugh. So we're happy, happy, happy. And then we get into that midlife crisis thing where we have our responsibilities and our work and blah, 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 and everything piling up, and we're not as happy. But as we get older, strangely enough, as we approach the end of our lives, we get happier because we get perspective and we get wisdom, and we know we're adaptable. We can survive, and we've seen things, and we appreciate daily life. So that we can learn is that it's not bad. There's something to look forward to. There's a peace that's coming, or there's a richness that's coming.
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. And I also think, this may be a generalization, but with personally the seniors in my life, they don't experience the kind of like thought-stopping, pulse-stopping fear, right? That I have every day.
Right. Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah. So there's more of a calmness, we hope. I mean, what I've experienced with some family members, there is sort of a tentativeness about some things, or a feeling of overwhelm about things that are not as they've gotten. Some things that they are used to. We all are used to, and we don't want things to change. I want my coffee to taste a certain way, and I don't. Traveling might become difficult. So. But that's when the multi-generational stuff comes in. We say, no, you know what? I'll take you, Mom. I'll drive up to see you, and I'll get you on the airplane. And so there are obviously things that we can do for them too. In fact, I think that there's a lot that we can do to help seniors feel valued and respected and supported. And we talk a lot about the emotional support, and also the built environment support. That's why at eXp Seniors Network, Heather and I, we advocate a lot for universal design. And universal design are products and places designed for ease of use for all ages and abilities. And if you've universally designed a home, that means anyone can come in, from a little kid in a stroller to an older adult who can't climb the stairs. I mean, there's things in there. There's a 0-step entry, or a wider doorway, or a ramp. There's going to be technology in there that's going to help them be independent. And so we're very excited about all these things that can help a house, help an older adult thrive and feel more independent. And so with you, Cody, Heather Brooks and I envisioned and created an interactive senior housing space in eXp World to really bring to people something. Oh, I'm sorry. Something happened here. I got some sort of note on my computer. Anyway, I want to talk about advocating for universal design and the thing that we've created in eXp World. It's an interactive house with issues. And you can walk through an eXp World and see what in a home hinders the freedom of independence for its older occupants and what enhances it. So there's things, you click on a bathroom that has clutter and it'll take you to a website. Okay, I'm sorry. I keep getting this notification on Zoom. Should we stop and start this again?
We could just take it from the beginning of that sentence. It's fine. From the beginning of we want to introduce the senior.
Yeah, we do. I'm sorry. It was some sort of Zoom thing that was happening. I allowed it. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so I think that what we can do to help seniors feel respected is advocate for universal design. And that's why, Cody, you helped Heather Brooks and I create this vision and make it a reality. The interactive housing space for seniors in the eXp world. And it's just for the month of August. And what it is you can click through rooms in a house and see what would hinder an older adult living there and what would enhance an older adult living there. And so you can click in the bathroom and you might see a throw rug, which is a tripping hazard. If you click on that, you'll go to an article about what to have in your bathroom. That will be part of fall prevention. That would decrease the likelihood of someone falling. Or you can click in the kitchen and you can see all the incredible, stylish, aesthetically pleasing, universal design elements like pull-down cabinets and lowered appliances and things that really make an older adult feel comfortable. So that's where I would encourage people to look in that interactive space. There's also resources to these authors that I've mentioned. There's resources to AARP. There are videos that will take you through a home for aging in place. And gosh, I would just say if you haven't been there to check out the modifications and the beauty that you can have and the resale value that will come from universal design, and you can pump that up as realtors to your clients too.
Yeah, it's great. And it's here all August. It'll be here every August. We've dubbed August to be Seniors Month at eXp. So it'll always be there in the month of August. Yeah, we love that space, and I love the idea of universal design. It makes me think of I don't know if you know this about me, but my father is a quadriplegic. And he was in a horrific motorcycle accident when I was 9 years old. And while he was in the hospital, the community came together and built him an accessible home.
Wow.
But the accessible home that was made accessible for him had bedrooms in the back that were for me. Wow. And then when his mother, my grandmother, fell ill in her old age, she needed those rooms, and none of them worked for her. So we had to rethink, handlebars and the number of outlets in the room for the machines and like all, we had to completely rethink the rooms. And when I'm going through the interactive senior house, I'm thinking, this is a lot of the stuff that we had to change to make my child's bedroom, right?
I can't believe you lived this experience so deeply.
Yeah. Yeah, we went through it twice, and this was a home that was built to be handicap accessible because even though
it's a unique thing, everybody's different. Everybody's got different strengths and weaknesses, and it has to be sort of customized to their needs.
Yeah.
But that's incredible. Wow, what an experience, huh? So this, I really hope. I think that the interactive housing space is really a great overview. It's kind of like going through a museum to see what an aging in place home would be. If anyone watching this is not in eXp, you can email me. You can contact me and get a guest pass. But just to say, to get there, you go to eXp World, you click on the Go To, you scroll down to DEI, and you click Interactive Senior Home.
That's it.
That's
super easy to get into. Yeah. And just like any of our interactive modules that we put forth for any of our months that we recognize, anything you see in there that you think could be done better, or if you've got ideas for furthering building upon, you can always send those to DEI@exprealty.net. And you never know, you may see those upgrades next year. Well, Eve, I just want to thank you for joining me today. And again, everybody join the Seniors Network. You do not have to be a senior to join the Seniors Network. They are an all-you-can-eat buffet of information, and you can learn a lot of stuff from the folks in the Seniors Network. It's one of our most vital, vibrant communities, and it's one of the communities where if you go in the Seniors Network, one of my favorite things when we go through all the stats in workplace is that if somebody asks a question in the Seniors Network, 20 people jump on to answer, right? It's very, very active, this community. So go ahead and join, learn what you can learn. And for more information about the Seniors Network, you can join Seniors Network on Workplace, or you can join us at the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Workplace Group for more events like this, for for a list of what's upcoming on the CultureCast podcast and for all of our DEI events. As always, I encourage you to join One eXp. That's our umbrella organization for all of our resource groups, and we share a lot of content there as well. Again, Eve, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.